introduce Nazek Ramadan. She's the founder and executive director of the wonderful Migrant Voice. She supported TogetherintheUK hugely with the competition, and I've invited her to tell you a little bit about Migrant Voice and then announce the winners of the Stories competition.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for inviting me. And thank you so much for asking me to judge the storytelling competition looking at short stories. I am not here to judge because who am I to judge anyone's story? I think all our stories are important. I'm here only to choose 3 of the stories that I have related to the most, maybe. Thank you again for inviting me. And I have read and enjoyed reading the short stories. It was so lovely to see the diversity of people and issues raised in these stories and the different journeys that each one of them took you on. I felt a lot of connections, some connections to some of those, to most of the stories, I must admit. And at times I felt like I was one of the characters in the stories and going through the same journey. I mean, we migrants have very similar journeys and we understand each other. Now, but for this competition, I'm aware that of the language barriers. So, you know, my choice was not based on proficiency of the language, but I rather looked at the stories that these stories have told and the creativity used in telling these stories. I mean, I want to say well done. I want to say again thank you TogetherintheUK for organizing this competition. But also well done everyone who participated, all the authors. I think they are all winners, of course. But I am tasked by choosing 3, maybe some of my favorites. So therefore I've selected, I'm going to share with you my favorite 3 of the great stories. I think the third, I'm going to start from the third story. My third choice was the story called The Hostel by Frank. I enjoyed that piece like any other piece, of course. It starts really well about the wait for a decision, the different traps along the way, thinking you're safe and not feeling safe, and about the hell in the heaven that is the hostel. I mean, I like the language used in that story, and also I like, you know, the way some of the feelings were described, including the worries about being rejected by other people. I think all of us migrants, especially when we are newly arrived to a new country, we are worried. This is a big concern for us, not being accepted, not being rejected, and also about the ways. I think this story, lots of people can identify with, those who travel and migrants who come to the UK or are waiting for a decision on their visa or application can easily identify with it. So my third choice, well done, Frank, The Hostel story. My second choice goes to the story called An Old Newspaper, and I think the writer, the author is Susan. Now I like this one a lot. I mean, it's a nice idea of telling the story of the journey from inside the womb and her mother's arrival. I think there's some nice play with language here. But to me, most importantly, again, I must say the story is not how it's written. The story, how you read it, and I'm judging those stories on the way how I read them. And for me, this is a story about home and belonging, about memories and connections to 2 worlds. And also, I mean, in her story is about being proud of the success. It's about the story of success of migration and about her being proud. Now, you know, the mention of the old newspaper with the photos, I think this is what really transported me to the time I left Lebanon. I mean, as I said, I connected to most of those stories. And just remember that she looked at old newspaper, to remember her mom, to remember part of her life, part of her past, her earlier belonging, her other home. You know, it resonated with me. When I left Lebanon more than 35 years ago, half my suitcase was full of photos of families, of friends. It just, you know, I want to leave that home and go somewhere else, but I didn't want to lose my belonging. I didn't want to lose my history, my roots. They were so important to me. And I think, you know, I felt that, I remember that when I read about the newspaper. So I think this is a story, as I said, I mean, again, one of the beautiful stories. Well done, Susan. Now, the first choice goes to, the story is called A Bowl of Soup, and it's written by Natalie. I mean, Natalie, again, well done, big well done. And this is a story where, I mean, I could easily be, you know, could have been a character in it. And it really took me back to the time I arrived in this country and how I felt so lonely, and I faced racism and discrimination. And I mean, my experience wasn't different from the experience described in Natalie's story, in a way that I was feeling, you know, feeling sorry for my children, looking at them, worrying about them, rather than them worrying about me. I mean, I don't know, they might have worried about me and they didn't tell me they were too young when we came. But I mean, it's a powerful story. It's a powerful depiction of othering and the dilemmas faced by, again, being a child in a migrant family. Split by fitting in better than your parents and your love for them. I mean, I love the use of the word home in that story, and that home is the only safe space for her. You know, I think for me, it's as migrants, you know, you leave your home and in search of a new home, but you just don't feel at home, and the only safe space is actually your small accommodation flat, what you call. This becomes the home, the only safe space. You know, again, it evokes memories and feeling, how you feel away from home, especially if you're rejected, if you feel discrimination, racism, how this feel you know, away from home, looking for a home but without a home. I mean, it just, I think those, for me, the word home is a very powerful word for me, and it evokes lots of feelings and memories as well. And it tells the stories of many migrants, and especially if you face racism, and when you first arrive, you know, the helplessness of dealing with it, because when you arrive, you don't know the language of the people, and you are worried, and you're confused, you're lost, and it's a new world, a new life, and you don't know how to challenge it. Luckily, I mean, after a few years, people start to challenge, and life does change. But those early, you know, months and years of arriving to a new country, I also love her use of the smell of home as a tool for comfort, and to try also to keep connected to home. I think, you know, all of us, when we feel, I don't know, lonely, I think we want to smell of home, anything remind us of home, just to give us this bit of comfort. I think it also, this resonated well with me. And the will to keep connecting to the other home by teaching her, you know, the child, the language. I mean, again, well done, everyone. The stories are wonderful and lovely. I could talk forever about that, but I'm told to stick to 10 minutes. So I think these are my minutes. Well done, everyone. Congratulations. Thank you so much, Together in the UK, and thank you so much, Teresa, for inviting me to judge the short stories. Thank you.
A Bowl of Soup by Natalie. The day Dao discovers that Ma is a witch is so cold that the children dare each other to lick the school fence, their tongues briefly sticking to the frozen metal bars. The witch is coming, Dao hears them whisper. Most run and hide. The bolder ones crowd around to gawk. Ma's skin glows as if the sun is shining through the clouds, and her black hair floats open around her waist. She just appears out of the fog so. That day, even the bigger kids run, all except Kev McKinley. Kev, who started the witch thing, has licked the Frosty's metal bar, and now Kev is stuck. He pushes against the fence, fat bottom wriggling, but he can't break free. As Ma reaches the gate, Kev squeals. She lifts her hand, Dao holds her breath. Maybe she will turn him into a pig. But Ma just waves and smiles. Then Kev's mother is there to unstick and scold him. She jumps a little when she notices Ma, then drags her son away. Dao pulls Ma away too, so few people can see that Ma's hill tribe jacket is threadbare, so few people can hear Ma's jungle around her wrist. They turn into a street where the cold house huddles against other identical brick houses. Come in quickly, Ma says, opening the door. Take off your coat. We're home now. Dao shakes her head. She still feels cold. Ma shrugs. Nice to be home now. She says the word home a lot when they are inside the red house. Repeats it like a spell. Dao begins to doubt the other kids. Then she thinks of Kev's frightened bottom and smiles. Dao hangs up her bag and notices her sister's empty peg. Where is Per? She asks. At Anna's, Ma says. Per has friends, and when they came here, Per already knew things like what a coat peg was and what dairy milk was. Dao doesn't know anything. I'm hungry, Dao says. Let's get a snack. Ma leads the way into the kitchen, the only warm room in the house. Dao sits at the table while Ma climbs a step to reach a high cupboard. Dao looks her mother up and down, black hair, milk tea skin, bright clothes. She's just Ma. But maybe in this place of white fog and grey rain she looks different. Ma, what's a chink? Dao asks. Ma turns around frowning. It's a bad word for someone from China. But we're not Chinese, are we? No, Dao, we come from Thailand. So why do they think why do they think you're a chink? Sometimes people just don't know better. Dao does not tell Ma that they also call her a witch. She does not want to hurt her feelings. Ma finds the biscuits and hands one to her. Ma, yes, Nu, I want to go home. This is home, Nu. This is our home now. This is home, Nu. This is our home now. Ma says it twice again, like a broken spell. Dao bites her lip, but Ma can see her tears before they fall. She rushes over to hug her. Nu, shall we have something special for dinner? Ma asks. Dao nods. Ma heats up silky white coconut cream. She adds leaves and stalks, roots and bulbs to the pot. Familiar smells fill the room, sweet with lemongrass, hungry with garlic. Ma fetches a straw mat and spreads it on the linoleum floor next to the big radiator. Dao sits cross-legged on the mat, as close to the radiator as she dares. From here, the tiny kitchen looks bigger, and instead of the backs of the other houses, the window now frames a distant, beckoning sky. In her wool coat, Dao starts to thaw happily. Then she notices Ma's precious photo hanging above the sink. A black and white younger Ma, draped in a long cape, is reaching forward, head bowed before the king. Why were you wearing that funny dress? Dao asks. Because I was graduating. What's that? It's when you finish studying and get a diploma. The magic scroll the king is giving you? Yes, Ma laughs. It gives you the power to get a good job. Jobs are the reason they have come to this country. It is why Dad goes out every day to a special place to find work. So why don't you have a job, Ma? Dao asks. When would I have time? Ma is very busy cooking, cleaning, sewing. She fixes these things in the house, like when the rock smashed through the front window. Ma patched it in with cardboard until the council put it in new glass. When I graduate, Dao says, will the king give me a school? Ma cocks her head. Only at Thammasat University. Where's that? Dao asks. In Bangkok, but you need to speak Thai to study there, you. Dao thinks of all those painful afternoons when her and Per had to sit and copy the sing-song voice on the cassette. Ma was annoyed because Dao got the tones wrong again, and there was this reading and writing, tracing symbols that had heads and tails. They looked like animals or people. They told a story, just not the one Ma wanted to read. But at least they had been home, where it was warm, where her friends were. If I promise to learn Thai, Ma, Dao says, can we go back home, please? Ma doesn't answer. She goes to stir the soup, tapping the spoon on the edge of the pot like a wand. It's ready, she croons. They eat their tom kai gai sitting on the mat in the warmth of the radiator. Dao feels cocooned in the coconutty broth. When she slurps the last drop straight from the bowl, a little bit dribbles down her chin. Dao wipes it with her palm and licks that too. Ma is a witch, and her potions work better than her spells. She can fly across oceans with you, all in a bowl of soup.